thank you so much for your time. I love Robot Dreams. I saw it at TIFF, and so I'm so thrilled for the nomination.
Wow.
So thank you for taking time with me today.
Great. So you were there at the premiere
Yeah.
there at T.
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah, it was wonderful. The audience clearly loved it there as well, and so it's been wonderful to watch it kind of gaining steam all these months. It's been amazing. What we all saw the beautiful video of you and your team watching the nominations and celebrating. It was amazing. What does this Oscar nomination mean to you?
Well, the thing is that what really means to me is that a wider audience, a global audience, is going to know about Robot and Dog, and more people are going to see Robot Dreams. And honestly, after four films and over 25 years of career in cinema, this is what really turns me on. Of course, is definitely, I'm very excited to go to the Oscars, and it sounds like big celebration. It's like it's not Robot Dreams, it's Pablo's dreams, just to be part of it. It sounds like, if you're an athlete going to the Olympics representing your country. So I feel like I'm representing like the Spanish film industry, not only the animation, just the industry, So I'm very excited. It feels like, wow, yes, I'm going for the ride here.
That's so good. That's so good. Well, you like you said, you've been making films for a long time. This is your first animated film, though. So what made you want to dive into animation and change things up?
Well, the only reason was the graphic novel itself of the same title, A Robot Named Sarah Baron. I read it a long time ago in 2010, basically because I collect wordless graphic novels, and you know it had not been published in Spain. I ordered online. I immediately fell in love with the book, became one of my favorites. But I read a few times, put it in with the collection. I made Blancanieves, I made Abracadabra, and I have to be thinking about my next project. And one day I was just procrastinating what I'm going to do next. And I was having a coffee, honestly. I was having a coffee, check it out, read it again. And then, and it was like, wow, I was laughing and enjoying it. And when I got to the end, this time, I was deeply, deeply moved. It really, tears came to my eyes. And it had never happened to me reading a graphic novel, and not even before when I read it the first time. But this time, I don't know why it touched me in a very deep way. I honestly think that I was visualizing the film. I was seeing the film. I think the directors, if we have one quality, one talent, is that we can close our eyes and see the film finish. I can really do it and hear it and see it. And I imagine how would I translate this graphic novel into a film? I think the end is so strong that I really, and that's the only reason that I made this animated film, because never in my life, not even once, I thought about making an animated film. I love animation. I'm a big consumer of animation. I always see all the interesting films. I don't miss any, but not even once I thought about making it one animated film.
Was there a moment of doubt then of like, well, I'm not an animated director. This is for somebody else to make, or did you know you had this?
Well, if you see my previous film, you realize that every time I make a film, I take a lot of risks, and every film is different from the previous. It's almost like my trademark, So if there's no fear, I am not interested. But it's not a fear that blocks me. It's just a fear that I like to get out of my comfort zone. I like to take risks. I like the idea that a film is like a Mission Impossible, and I'm the sergeant with a Suicide Squad, but we are gonna make it. And something about it, that it was gonna be an animation, instead of being a turn down, it was a turn on. It was like, wow, oh yes, I don't know anything, but as when you have a suicide mission, you have to get the best. And I'm used to work with the best in my previous film. So I really got a great team. I got an amazing art director, which is Jose Luis Agreda, that had made an amazing film before this one called Buñuel in the Turtles Labyrinth. And I got an amazing animation director that he was responsible of the animation directing in The Triples of Belleville and The Book of Kells. He's Benoit Ferremont. He's based in Brussels, so I seduced him to come to Spain for 2 years. Jose Luis is based in Spain, but in Seville. So I moved them. And then, the movie The Seven Samurais, Kurosawa, we had to get team and animators and people from all over the world and from Madrid and from all over Spain. So that was also very exciting to put a studio. We really created what we call it 2 pop-up studios, because we didn't work with a studio that it was working. We had to create a studio, buy the machines, decide the software, create a pipeline. There was a lot of challenges about making this film. And definitely the biggest one is that the director had never made an animated film. So
yeah, what in assembling the team, what did you find was different or challenging about moving from directing actors and a cinematographer and heads of departments in that way to directing animators? What was the challenge there?
Well, the thing is that my producer of my last 3 films, she had never produced animation film either. So, but she's used that every time I make a film, when she opens the script, she doesn't even know what is going to be inside. So definitely animated. Pablo, okay. She read it. She loved the script. Okay, let's do it. So, but she always says that I had an animation director in me. And she's right, because I'm one of those few live action directors that I storyboard from beginning to end. My previous films, for example, Blancanieves, when I made into, I spent 1 year doing the storyboard of Blancanieves. Abracadabra, I spent 1 year, and as you know, to make it a storyboard, and as you know, for animation director, the treasure map is the storyboard. Is the in Spain in Europe we call it animatic. You call it real story reel in English. So for me to spend 1 year with a small team doing the story reel, I love it. It's my favorite. Actually, it's my favorite part of making film. So that element, it was not difficult. And then initially I was very scared because I thought there were a lot of difference between animation and live action. And the reality is that they have more things in common than differences. In a way, it's just a question of doing substitutions. So if in live action, you have a camera, art director, hair, makeup, wardrobe. In film, in animation, you have the art department, and you just have dozens of artists that have to do the same work. So I just had to communicate in the same way with both teams. And as you said, the biggest change is the substitution of working with actors and working with animators. And the fact that I don't have an animation background, I don't even know the technique. I'm not a technical animation director. I'm a director of actors. So what I thought is just, I'm going to bring my background and my experience working with the best Spanish actors and getting great performances and really enjoying working with actors and I'm going to talk the same way with the animators. Of course, I needed help. And of course, if you have an amazing director of animation like Benoit Ferremont, he helped me to translate a lot of my indications. But in a way, my relation with the actors and the animators, it was very similar. Big difference. With the actors, you spend 2 months. With animators, you spend 2 years. So the relation with the animators, I was every single day in my office, I would meet with animators and work on the acting. For me, when I work in a live action film, I'm next to the camera. I'm not a director that I like to be with a monitor, unless it's a very complex shot. I like to be next to the camera, and I like to look at the actor, and I like to look at their eyes. So here is the same. I was with the animator here. This film was not done in remote, nothing. That was another difficulty of creating the team. We were in the COVID times, and we didn't want it to, we had masks. So for 2 years, but we were next to each other. And for me, when I was looking, it was just at the eyes of dog and robot. For me, the pupils, the eyes, And I always have a message: less is more, less is more. Acting in live action is the same as acting in animation. Because I'm so many times when I see some animated movies, I see so much overacting, so much indicating, so much, oh, if you're sad, you have to be like, if you're surprised, you have to, come on, guys, there's no difference between directing actors or directing animated actors or animated characters. So I thought that could be something that I could bring from my experience in live action.
It's amazing. And I think that helps so much. The characters are so rich and lived in. And I love the themes of the film. It speaks to the beauty of both friendship and loneliness. And seeing the beauty in both of those is really challenging. How were you able to illustrate both sides of that?
Well, the things that, as a writer director, I put a lot of me in my work. There's no other way to write and direct. So when I read the book, the original source, I felt so much identification with Dog. I'm Dog. I've been that lonely dog in New York. The Dog's apartment is my last apartment in New York. Of course, at that time, I was with my closest collaborator. We are together. I'm talking about long time ago. Yuko Harami, she works with me in all my films from my first film. But I found love. My heart was broken in New York so deeply. I made friends, lost friends. And a lot of the things that Doc does in the films, there are places and things that I love to do when I was in New York. For example, my favorite thing to do when I always live in this village, like Dog lives in this village. My favorite thing to do was to go to Kim's Video to rent a video. I don't know if you're familiar what Kim's Video means for a whole generation of film buffs or film directors. Kim's Video was the Cinematheque of New York. It was and things like that appears. There's little homage to things that I did in New York.
That's so beautiful. Like you've referenced, you've already made a silent film before this, Blancanieves,
Yes.
and Robot Dreams is obviously very different. But you've already been through that challenge of removing the convenience of words from your filmmaking arsenal. How are you still able to create the full story without relying on dialogue? How challenging is that?
Yeah. The thing is that just one detail for me, Robot Dreams is a dialogue-free film. It's not a silent film because actually it's my most complex sound design film. And I work with a big team of sound team with Fabiola Ardoyo, because we wanted that, because New York, if there's a uniqueness about New York is how noisy it is. You cannot make a silent New York. It will be an oxymoron. There's no silent New York. It's loud. So one of the things, more noise. So we have to find sirens, alarms from police, from fire department, from cars, from the period. You need all these wild and crowds. So definitely the film has a New York sound, so that element. But talking about my previous experience in writing with images, for me, what I always try to make in my film is to write with images. I really think that what makes film a unique art form is that, before a film director, I'm a film buff. My favorite period film is the 20s, mid-20s, Abel Gance, Dreyer, Murnau, Victor Hostrom, you name it. There's so many great directors that they were really pushing the film language. And I really like the idea of pushing the film language. As we all know, when the sound era came, suddenly that gigantic advantages, camera movement, fast cutting, So I want to continue that legacy, honestly, and in my films, I wanted my films to be a sensorial experience. And Blancanieves was a sensorial experience. I want Robot Dreams to be a sensorial experience. At the same time, I want to be a musical. For me, Robot Dreams is a musical with images and music. So when you write with images, and I had done it before, a whole film, I'm talking about the whole length of a feature film, the story has to move, and it's action reaction, and you need so many. So the editing is your tool. You really need a lot of cuts. So there's a uniqueness about how a film that is based in writing with images, where the camera, the cuts, and I think probably we all know how many cuts has a Spider-Man. Probably Robot Dreams to some stage could be close to it, in the sense that you really need a lot of cuts to tell a story with images.
Absolutely. Well, and another thing you've referenced is how often you change things up from film to film. Every film that you've made is so different from the last. So I don't know what you're going on to next, what film is next, but I'm curious, what do you already feel you've learned from the experience of making Robot Dreams, that you're going to take into your next film, whatever it might be?
Well, the thing is that as you said, every film of mine is different. And I think it has become my trademark. It was not a plan. It just became like this. And after 4 films, you can make some conclusion that each film is just very different on the formal level. I definitely think that I think form is very important in cinema. So I try to change, but I think my films, even if they're very different visually, they have the same DNA, the same writer director. So there are a few ingredients that all my films have. That is emotion, humor, surprises, music, and a love story. All of them. So I think probably my next film will be completely different visually, and with the same those element of ingredients. But honestly, I don't know what I'm gonna do next. At this time I'm with a megaphone, step right in since Cannes, since May. I'm saying step right in to see Robot Dreams. So that's very exciting for me. And what was the other part of the question that you were saying? That
What do you think you learned from Robot
yes,
Dreams
yeah,
that you'll
that's the
take
thing.
into your next project?
Yeah, what my biggest change from film to film, as I get older and more experienced director, is that when I made my first film, I thought that a director had to have answers for everything. And as I make one another film, every time I think that directing is about listening, honestly. And definitely you have the last call. You're the director. Nobody's going to question at this stage of my career. Nobody question my position in the film. But I'm really open for any collaborator to express, because I will, if somebody has a better idea than mine, I'm going to get it. So there's so many great ideas from my team in this film. Although it says a film by Pablo Berger, which is, I think, not fair, but definitely I think you have to listen. And another thing, definitely making a film in animation opened my mind to a different type of stories. Definitely, it made me feel like, wow, now I'm sure I will make another animation film. I enjoy the process immensely, but I know I'm going to tell different stories that I cannot tell in live action. I think when you use animation to do a story that you cannot make in live action is great. For example, this is it's a European budget film. It's a Spanish-French co-production. For Spain, it's a good budget, but compared to American budget, it's just very tiny. But in Spain, we feel, oh, everybody says, oh, you had a nice budget to make Robot Dreams, and I did. I didn't need any more money. I don't feel that I don't feel I'm missing one shot. I have all the shots that I needed, or the background of the artist. But for example, in this film, I was able to put a gigantic choreography, Busby Berkeley homage with thousands of tap dancers. I could have never made a scene like that, live action, with a European budget. One thing. Another scene, there's a scene in the film that there's a sledge race that is kind of like a Ben-Hur homage, James Bond. I couldn't have made that scene with a European film budget, maybe with a Hollywood budget, yes, but not with a European. So it really opened my mind to another set of stories, which is great. And to finalize this question, I would say in this film is also the closest to the film that I dream as a director. Director, we always dream the film. We close our eyes and we think about the film, how it's going to be finished. And when you make live action, that's the nature of live action. There's so many fingerprints and so many variables. Everything goes wrong, but you have to turn the negative in positives. It's really crazy to make live action film. And in this one, when you make animation, you really, it's pretty close to the storyboard that I did for 1 year with my team. It's like, wow, this is really close to the film that I dreamed. So when I make a live action film, I'm gonna really keep pushing. If I'm a very detail-oriented maniac about the thing, I'm gonna continue with that. Yeah, when I make live action, I make storyboards that they're like not in movement. It's just more drawings. But my next live action, I'm gonna make a real story. I'm gonna make an animatic, and that's definitely. And I'm going to show it to my team, and it's gonna be, I want this. So yeah, no, definitely, I learned so much, and most important, I met great heads of departments that I didn't know. Now I have fantastic art director, and I met a fantastic animation director and a fantastic comper. I met new collaborators, and that's always great for a director.
Amazing. Well, Pablo, I can't wait to see what you do next. Thank you again for Robot Dreams. I truly loved the movie. Appreciate your time.
Well, thank you, Daniel, for helping us to spread the word. And we need you. We need all the Academy members to know about Robot Dreams, that they have to see it. We cannot, and of course, it's nice that you put a nice word about the film.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, and best of luck.